Good evening. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP. Greetings from the Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP. Thank you all for joining us and staying with us today. An honorable knowledge seeker. Today I am your host for the evening. My name is Badhum Dash. I am from Bangladesh. Dear knowledge seeker, I am proud to be associated with IGP. IGP Social and IS Certified International Educational and Training Institute. In last years, we already served 35 million plus knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 450 plus profession and 4,500 plus organizations. In Institute of Global Professional is an education institute that provides social work globally recognized and reputable research and community research providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it's not effective to increase one skill is back in formal education. So we provide effective training and consultation to generate profession generation all over the world. We distribute our services locally, national, international to students, job seeker, job holder, and also for learner the respective campus location and distance learning platform. We are an occupational and dependable institute. IGP is one of the famous online institute from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our human rights. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminar courses, award quiz competition, mentoring, and counseling, etc. On the other side, we are also trying to offer more than 100 million services for free, like create own portfolio website, resume builder, cover letter, motivation letter, and we are connected to more than 450 plus professional and 4,500 plus organization. Institute of Global Professional is an education institute that provides social work globally recognized and affordable research and community resource providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it's not effective to increase one skill just by offering formal education. So we provide effective training and consultation to generate profession generation all over the world. We distribute our services locally, national, international to student, job seeker, job holder, and also for learner the respective campus location and distance learning platform. We are an occupational and dependable institute. IGP is one of the famous online institute from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our human rights. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminar courses, award quiz competition, mentoring, and counseling, etc. On the other side, we are also trying to offer more than 100 PM services for free, like your own portfolio website, resume builder, cover letter, motivation letter, and wall knowledge platform for gathering your knowledge, which can upgrade all day. Kids learning game, website, free course, conversations, and many more. We help to empower you to learn to meet their expectation and even become highly skilled people. We implement our training program web and offline online courses for youth learner by professional trainers, speaker, and coaches. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals to develop all kind of youth and promote the education of the adults and process. Speaking knowledge is crucial for the Institute of Global Professional. We believe that knowledge is love and light and vision. So we try to understand the needs of the generation and we serve them with research and practice method. We must have a genuine concern for the learner represent more diversity, growth, and innovation are required to lead a session with professionalism, passion, and integrity. As a member are competent to offering effective display service and continued business so the individual who seek information can improve their skill level and value. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. The support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. The support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Dear IGP speaker, participant, and well wisher, at this moment, this is very important message for you all. We change and design our website www.eduigp.com. On this website, we have surprise for everyone. Hope you'll be benefited. We already launched our new website where you can find all our previous activities together with lots of new features. But one strong point is that without an account or login, you cannot enjoy our service. So create your account for once with profile information. Note that with profile information, you'll enjoy feature. With mismatch data, you cannot do anything here. From now on, you have to participate in live quiz competition on our website. We replace live so join directly on our website. Now you can check all of our previous webinars with verified e-certificate. Now it's easier and time limited because after the session, we will not provide any code for certification. You have to take part in one exam. After that, if you pass, you will receive your certificate, otherwise not. But you can take part in an exam and immediately you pass. If you're an IGP speaker, you can download all your previous certificate, speakership certificate. If you're a host of IGP, you can download certificate of gratitude. If you're an online life quiz competition winner, you can download certificate of participation. If you're selected for lifetime membership, then you can download certificate of lifetime membership easily. Besides this, we participate in an award function, which organize common support with IGP. You can download that also. You can still prepare and download 18 types business certificate from our website within a minute. Certificate of Global Professional Membership, Certificate of Global Influence in the Pandemic, Certificate of Active Knowledge Seeker, Certificate of Social Activity in the Pandemic, Certificate of Achievement. IGP Knowledge Seeker can be 2020, 2021, and 2022. Certificate of Participation, Webinar Series 1. Authentic Assessment, Teaching Learning, Certificate of Participation, Webinar Series 2. Teaching Wizard for Language and Assessment. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 6, Digital Classroom Engagement Tool, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series for the new trend in education. Survey participation webinar series 5, App Scholarship Leadership and Management Skills. Survey participation webinar series 6, Training and Innovation in Mathematics Education. Survey participation webinar series 7, Research Comprehension Approach. Survey participation webinar series 8, Art and Teaching Special Program in the Art. Survey participation webinar series 9, 21st Century Student Teaching Mathematics. Survey IGP Corporate Administrator. Survey IGP Campus Administrator, which you can prepare and download within a minute. From now on, you can participate in 1000% international level quiz verified is certificate. Teaching tips for teacher, help tips for parents, help tips for teens, education tools for teacher. You can join IGP alumni. You can check out our 50 years streaming services website for free and many more. Dear IGP well-wisher, we promise to be a stable lake of technical problem and late sending on time. This is a good opportunity to collect your previous friend issue. We solved all issue from our website. Now you can enroll, reset password, everything. You can check your digital for all webinar details. It's a crucial request to check out button pages on our website. She like and will benefit it. Thank you, but note that without an account or logged in, you cannot enjoy our services. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with her presentation. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with her presentation. Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Very good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you, ma'am. Please present your presentation.
Yes, I'm going to do that.
Ma'am, if possible, please open your camera. We can see you. If there is
Just a
no
minute.
issue, please open your camera.
Let me just share my screen because it is getting stuck. So give me a
Okay, okay,
minute.
ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now let me just switch on my camera if possible.
Yes,
Give me a
ma'am.
minute. I hope
Yes,
I'm
yes.
visible now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. All right. So let me just start. Well, thank you everyone, first of all, to be here on Sunday evening. My name is Sunesh Bhardwaj, and I'm presenting and speaking to all of you from India. So today we are going to talk about a very, very important topic. As you all know, we all as humans have sufferings in our life, right? And the biggest question which we ask to all of us is why I am suffering? Why only me? Why my friends are doing great? Why my relatives are doing great? Why this whole kind of negativity comes to me, right? So there is a high level of suffering sometime which we all encounter as humans, and you should not be surprised that the major chunk of when we call about suffering, trust me, it is not only from, let's say, sickness, or let's say any kind of physical injury. The major kind of suffering comes from deep emotional relationship conflicts. I'm sure all of you will agree to it that today in the world we are dying internally because somewhere we have lots and lots of, let's say, toxicity. We can't see people growing. We, let's say, have a lot of ego. We have lots and lots of conflict between our own thought process and what we want to do in life. So if you look at the major portion which is termed as a suffering is basically coming from our own relationship, either within our groups, with our loved ones, or with ourselves. So there are two three different kind of relationships which I'll be talking majorly, which defines that how these sufferings can be converted into strengths if we all understand that why a particular part of suffering has come to us as a part of life. Always remember, we all are very special in this particular life. We have not been simply given this life because the creator or the universal force, whichever god you believe, whatever religion you follow, doesn't matter. All it matters is whatever your belief system says, you are here to create some major positive difference. The only difference here is, do you understand your power? Is a major question you should ask to yourself. And most of the time you will find a lot of people do not understand what they are doing with their life, because for them life is all about coming on this planet, take birth, then do education, do normal stuff as a child, do college life, get married, have kids, and then just keep continuing the same cycle which has been throughout generation to generation, and finally reach to a stage where you want to finally say a goodbye from, everyone you're in and around you as your loved ones, and you leave the planet happily. This is called a cycle which most of the people live with. But do you understand, what have you finished up your major portion of being a human being on this planet? No, you have not been sent here just to have this kind of pain, suffering, and just finish up your cycle and go back. There was a major expectation out of you as humans on being on this planet. But irony is, we don't want to understand that deep down level and interest why we are there on this planet, right? So just to give highlights on that, let me take you first of all, what is the suffering, what is this concept of suffering basically. So suffering happens when, let's say, as I mentioned, most of the suffering happens to us because somewhere our relationship, either it is with ourselves, with our loved ones, it can be with our parents, with our siblings, with our kids, with our, you know anybody in your life who is special, who is holding a very important part in your life, can be under a conflict. If that whole healthy relationship equation is missing, we all suffer, and we sometime enter into a deep pain, which is so deep that it can even take our life also, because we as humans have certain kind of parametrical systematic metrics in our mind, that if I give someone something, I also expect something in return, and if that does not align with my thought process, we automatically enter into a suffering zone. So this is the cycle which predominantly we as humans live with. What we all are supposed to do, we need to break the cycle and come out of it if we really want to understand the concept of suffering. Please understand, the universal powers and the creator who has given us birth does not have any personal ego or kind of clash with any one of us. It's just our mindset and perception that how we want to take that suffering. Are we learning something out of that suffering, or we are simply crying for that suffering is our choice? Because that choice has been given to us as soul, as humans. People who will turn out their sufferings will come out as winners, and people who will sit, cry, and keep thinking about negative, overthinking, toxicity in and around will only keep internally dying, 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 and they will give up on the situation. Now, this is the major concept to understand. You can make your suffering as pain, or you can come out your suffering with a great strengthful zone around you, which can really make you so strong that you are able to take powerful decisions in your life going forward whenever any kind of suffering happens. So here the first thing is, there is no suffering when relationship is present. When I talk about relationship, I talk in all the context, right? When we are very happy living with someone in relationship, can be with our parents, spouse, sibling, any loved and dear friends, or somebody around us, when we are getting what we are expecting, then I think we all are very happy, we feel there is no suffering, life is like wonderful. But you need to understand that cannot be a evergreen process, because we all are humans, and every human has a particular practice of changing their mindset, or eventually those thought process are going to differ and change. So when that change happens, we eventually suffer, because now we are no more aligning with our expectation. And that's why you will find nowadays lots and lots of people are getting divorced without even understanding why they are heading for divorce. People who have been into married life for 20 years, 25 years, now they want to separate out of their married life and marriage zone because they feel it's a kind of suffering for them. I always tell people, when somebody spends life and time with you, if let's say it is just for 2 months, 3 months, I can understand there can be a conflict of thought. But somebody who has, lived up to with you for a good 20, 25 years, and then you decided to separate because of unknown reason, illogical reason, without understanding why you are separating out, it is really, really a deep suffering. So here the main concept has to be why we are separating. Is there some strong cause which is going to give us growth, or we are simply don't want to see each other because it's more than enough now, we have already spent 25 years. Now that is something called a very sick mentality, right? Now let's understand slightly more in depth what causes basically problems and sufferings in our life. There can be n number of reasons, but as relationship are going to be the major portfolio here which holds this whole context for sufferings, so I'm going to talk in context with what are the various signs of toxic relationships. Let's say you don't want to have a confrontation with people, you have a fear. Number two, you don't want to communicate to people, you simply want to drop out people because you again have a fear that what if I talk and the person is able to give me some reverse answer. You don't want to communicate, you still want to live up with that whole miscommunication and unintentional way of taking the relationship into a healthy direction. Number three, you have a lack of support. Lack of support can again come from multiple reasons. Let's say your family is not supporting, your spouse is not supporting, your in laws are not supporting, your friends, you don't find some good, healthy friends around you. So you lack support, and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and emotionally, you are completely broken down. Number four can be you are extremely jealous of how somebody who is so called your so close friend is doing good in life, and you're not able to gain those things which actually you dream of. Next could be dishonesty. Dishonesty means you're not honest in your dealings. Now, when I say dealings, let's say you as a spouse or you as a partner in someone's life is very dishonest in dealing with things. You say it's okay. I need not to be 24 hours thinking about my partner or my spouse. That's absolutely fine. But at least have a moral, ethical value of handling the relationship. And let's say if you're not ready, don't get into a relationship of a married relationship, because that requires commitment. That requires that you should have some ground level to sustain on those ground values. Unfortunately, we have this concept when somebody grows up in age, we call them they become mature. No. People start telling, hey, you become 25 years old, you become 30 years old, now it's a marriageable age. No, you only become aligned and you only become equal to your marriage when you are capable of handling yourself, and you also have a fair amount of welcoming note towards that second person whom you are allowing to enter into your life. My dear friends, this is life which is practical. It demands that kind of, let's say, test from you, kind of commitment from you. And if you don't fulfill that and you keep on running, any relationship is going to break down at that point of time. So ensure that dishonesty should not have any space in terms of your relationship. Resentments means, let's say you are just crying internally, but you are just also blaming certain situations in and around you, and you're not able to open up what you are feeling guilty about. Finally, patterns of disrespect. You have somewhere learned that by disrespecting people, disrespecting spouse, disrespecting your loved and near and dear ones, you are going to attain a high level of commitment, which is wrong. Now, these are some major areas which we found that in a toxic relationship, these are the kind of signs which you will be contributing, and that contributes fairly towards your fairly towards your sufferings. Today, most of the time, I found people come with this problem. My relationship is at the urge of breaking down. And I simply ask people, why? What do you feel? Always people start blaming others. No, that person is cheating on me. The person is dishonest. I said, okay, if you feel that person is so dishonest about you, did you take that chance of talking and communicating the same thing to that person? He or she will say no. Then how can you are fair enough? You tell me, why can't you go and communicate to your spouse? Because a healthy relationship is based on the right way of communication. Whether right or wrong does not matter. All it matters is how I'm communicating to the opposite person matters a lot, right? So these are very, very important ways to deal with it. Now, the core relationship or the core sufferings can come from past experiences. I'll give couple of examples here. Now, let's say there are child. I have seen there are children in the family where the childhood days of those children has not gone into a right mindset, right upbringing, because parents have a kind of divorced alignment, parents have a abusive marriage, parents have an abusive way of living in the family, parents never treated their kids very well because they feel, oh, they are kids, that's okay. However, the upbringing is going on, eventually even our parents have done the same thing. So there is a continuous pattern basically which is so difficult to break down, and they don't want to come out of those cycles, and they want to repeat the same cycle for every single generation going forward. This pretty much sets the tone of that family cycle, and this disturbs the complete suffering. The child is going to suffer the most, because first and the foremost thing, the child does not have that developed senses that what is right and what is wrong. And when a child continuously sees that my parents are fighting on petty things, my parents are only creating nonsense in the family, obviously the child is going to go through a turbulent flow. And the irony is, being a child, the child hardly hold anything on the emotional side, and the emotions can be triggered to a extreme level, and the child can enter into a very, very ferocious way of behaving with people when they see such kind of traumatic situations. Number two situation is, the suffering can be for a child. Let's say a child does not get the right amount of love from parents, because parents just treat them, if especially let's say there is a female child, the parents just treat them, oh, you are a female, we were looking out for a male, all that kind of drama is happening in the family. So that also pretty much disturbs the mental cycle for a kid. Always understand, kids are not your labeled forces. They are not here just because you want them to be a tagged forces in the society. Just be mature enough that when you are bringing some life in your life, please respect it. Or if you can't understand this, go and talk to the couples who are praying for 10 years, 20 years just to have one kid in their life. Look at their life. You should be, I think, thankful enough to the divine forces if you have been blessed with kids. And the irony is, once you get blessed even with one or two kids, still you don't have a respect for it. That actually creates only suffering for that kid, for you, and ultimately for the whole family, right? So you need to understand these past experiences needs to be broken down as a cycle. Do not allow your kid to back and forth enter into those cycles. And you as a person, let's say you have some loved one in your family where you have only continuous conflicts, you're only talking to your spouse in a very bad manner, you're only talking negativity in and around you. It's fine, we all are humans, sometimes we might enter into our negative zones, but take a pause that point of time. Don't simply blabber certain things because just you are spouse to someone. Those things matters a lot to pay a respect towards your relationship. Next one is life transitions and stress. Today we all are into a very fast paced industries where both husband and wife has to work to in order to ensure that they are meeting their regular commitments, they are meeting their regular family day to day needs, their kids can go to good schools, and their kids can really get a right education to sustain going forward in the competitive world. But you need to also understand, as a couple you have certain responsibilities. Today a male counterpart cannot go and ask and tell a female, your job is to stand in the kitchen and cook for me and for my kids and for my family. I mean, this is way too stupid for a male counterpart. If you are calling yourself as a very educated person, you are simply disrespecting your education, because you can't understand she is also a human. She is also equally working like you. Both of you should go and contribute towards your daily household things if it is required. It's not a concept of that you're dictating somebody. Being a lady, this is your job; being a male, this is my job. That difference should not be there nowadays, because both are equally competent and both need to go and work. Because if you really want to give good life to your kids or to yourself, you need to meet those commitments, especially in the metropolitan cities. Life is very competitive, life is very challenging, and if you don't take right calls at right time, or right decision making things at right time, you're going to suffer. And stress, lot of people consider right now stress is a very negative thing. No, a right amount of stress, if you understand, is required in our life to bring the growth element in us. So do not consider stress as a negative term. Right amount, the word is right amount of stress is needed. Over and above anything, if you are simply getting, because you're not earning money, you don't have a good lifestyle, you are not able to give even basic things to your kids or to your family, definitely put you under lots and lots of stress. So you need to figure out how to get rid of all those overly stressed zones and situations in your life, so that you can smoothly sail through daily course of life. Third most important thing, I have found people suffer a lot because they think how people think about them. My dear friends, this is not your job to think what other thinks about you. That is their problem, what they think. And moreover, people are only going to think what they are looking to think about you, what the perception they have created about you. So you need not to worry and take too much of tension and stress about the same. Today, let me tell you, even if you do good thing, people are going to talk. You don't do anything, people are still going to talk about you. So if anyways, any one ways people have to talk about you, why don't you give them a reason to talk something good about you? Do something good, put yourself into a right amount of action, and create something powerful for you. There is nothing wrong if you are creating some growth curve for yourself, for your family, you are supporting your family, and you are leading a very wonderful life, right? So don't think too much, because that is going to again make you suffer a lot. I've seen a lot of females start thinking, oh, what my neighbor is going to think, what my in-laws are going to think, what my husband is going to think. I've seen sometime females are in the corporate world and they're really doing well, better than their male counterparts, and somewhere there is a this factor of jealousy, ego will suddenly come into their life, which actually disturbs each and everything in their life, right? And then that's how they start, dropping down their levels. I always tell them, dropping down is not the solution. You need to talk to your spouse, you need to talk to your family members. As they are your family members, they are internally connected to you. One time you must talk to them and make them understand. But over and above, if they don't want to understand and if they are not willing to change for the better and for the growth perspective, I think it's high time you should stop thinking about it, right? So most of the time these problems, this suffering comes from all these kind of non-communicative behavior, blame game, egoistic approach. No, I will not go and talk, the person should come and talk. Such kind of things are just the barriers. Remove out of Come out of all these kind of silly thought process and silly behavioral approach that will only give you suffering. Next one, most important, behavioral factors. What are behavioral factors? You will find that into relationship, let's say somebody is very habitual of disrespecting some people. They're very defensive, right? Or they can't take positive criticism. Or let's say they always try to over prove themselves that in a relationship, I'm the superior one, you should listen to me because I'm the dominating person or I'm the eldest one. Please understand, being eldest is not something where you have been given a kind of title or a kind of trophy that you can go and over dominate people. If your behavior is not right, you need to change. It doesn't matter you are the eldest or you are the youngest. Everybody deserves a respect. Everybody deserves a good way of talking. Everybody respects that polite and gentle welcome from each other. It hardly matters who you are. If you do not follow these kind of genuine moral ethics, I think as a human you already lose your respect, right? So this is very very important, that you don't create suffering for people by telling them into a wrong way, addressing them into a wrong egoistic way, passing on wrong comments on people, sarcastically giving them a taunting style of triggering out some their internal emotions, or targeting them just because you get something about them to talk about. It's very wrong, because this does not define about whom you are talking. This most prominently talking about who you are as a human, and what is your thought process, what is your thinking process, and how actually you treat humans, right? So always understand, behavioral factors are very very important, because more than anybody it talks about you. Now, what are the main types of abuse you must have seen in the social, physical, and a lot of types you must have seen? I'm going to highlight here the most important, which actually brings that whole element of suffering to us. Number one, financial abuse. What is financial abuse? I'll give a classic example. There's a husband and wife. Wife is well educated, but let's say the husband family or in-laws families is not allowing that lady to go for a right kind of work, so she has to be dependent on either on her husband or on the financial income coming from the family. And every time it doesn't sound good for a well educated person to keep asking money from here and there to either in-laws or to husband, even they get frustrated. So what are you doing? You are actually entering into this whole momentum of financial abuse, where you are capable of earning, but still, due to certain factors, due to some external approaches or some dominating characters, you are not able to do justice to your financial equation. And I personally tell to all females, especially, if you are a female, you are well capable, you have the right amount of education with you, kindly do not waste it. Your education is your biggest tool nowadays, and you can just go and ensure that you become strongly independent. Right? Number two, physical abuse. This is the kind of abuse which most of the time you must have seen, that people who are weak, right, always get over dominated by dominating personalities through physical abuse. But let's say if you're well educated, you really understand your rights well, then you can also control this physical abuse to an extent. Because I personally believe, no matter what, whatever the consequences is, physical abuse is not something is given to your birthright. There's no one's birthright. Number three, social abuse. You must have seen sometime people suffer because, let's say, in a public gathering, in a social gathering, sometime you must have seen a husband is shouting at wife, and they call themselves very educated people. And it is so, kind of painful area to see that so-called very educated people abuse each other in social platforms, or, even indirectly talking about someone wrong is also called a kind of social abuse. Now in the world of social media, people feel that how it matters who will come to know what I'm writing, because I will put my identity as anonymous and I can go and abuse anybody. You don't understand. If no one is able to identify, still that creator's power is seeing you what you are doing, and you are creating your own karma for it. It will come back to you, if not today, slightly later, but it will surely come back to you in some and other form. So never ever try to abuse people. You find something is not right and you have a relevant point, please voice out, but in a gentle way. It should not again trigger people for a wrong reason, right? Fourth one is emotional abuse, or I would say emotional suffering, where you'll find lot of time people are going through lots and lots of triggering pain in their heart, pain in their emotion, because they feel nobody is there in and around them to listen to their pain areas. This can really be triggering for a child. This can really be triggering for teenagers. This can really be triggering for somebody who is in the age bracket of, let's say, 22, initially starting up their career and going through a very strong stress zones, right? This can eventually be very triggering for a female who lost, let's say, everything in life. Cultural abuse means you start comparing people on the cultural diversities. You say, my religion is great, my community is best. These are all very miniature and silly things to talk on a human front. If you feel you are a human and you want to be powerful, always first learn how to respect other human. Later on, you talk about who you are, because your first identity is a human. And on a humanitarian ground, if you cannot respect other human, you already lost the meaning and purpose of being a human on this planet. So cultural abuse you should completely avoid, because this creates lots and lots of suffering in between people. Sexual abuse, I need not to talk to you. Sexual abuse is not always about what nowadays people called it, that we are into live-in relationship and you leave people because now your purpose is over, your objective is over. So finally you see, oh, we were very young, we were just go and driven by a lot of external factors. Now we don't feel we match on certain lines. Please understand, first of all, who asked you to go and get into a live-in relationship? That is not even advisable for immature people. Correct? So first and the foremost thing, what people do in terms of sexual abuses, they feel it is just merely a way of going and getting intimated, which is very wrong. They first of all don't understand the meaning of commitment, and moreover they try to abuse and they try to create a kind of suffering for each other. If you are thinking as human that you have done a great thing by leaving people in your life, changing partners, having extramarital affairs outside your married life, and you are becoming very superpower because boys and girls tradition is like this nowadays, you are fooling yourself. You are simply fooling yourself. And by the end of the day, you will see you will become such a stupid that you will start cursing yourself why you have done this. Because what you are calling today a game for you, actually life will do a big game with you, right? So always understand, when you create suffering for anyone, that same suffering will come along with bonus to you. If not today, slightly later, but for sure it has to come back to you as karma. Correct? So my dear friends, these are couple of highlighted points which actually create suffering for humans. Over and above, I just want to tell you in a nutshell that if we are humans, we have been blessed with our brains, we have been blessed with our heart. Why can't we slightly more mature enough to respect every other human? We all know that we all suffer into different zones, but if we can at least help someone to overcome those kind of sufferings, I think you have done a wonderful job as a human, right? It can be simply sitting next to your grandmother and listening to them for at least 5-10 minutes, because that will release the emotional trauma and the pressure of being into a old age from your grandparents, right? It can be as simple as that, that you are talking to a small child who is complaining about parents. Listen to them, don't start scolding. Listen to their pain, and once they speak out, they feel so light, they feel so happy that somebody is there to listen to them. Never ever start scolding your teenagers if they are going through some sort of pain, because you don't know what they are going through. Just have that heart for them, have that kind of emotional feeling towards them, and at least listen to their problem, and then you give them a right kind of advice, like a good advisor and a kind of friend to them, so that they can feel that somebody is there in and around them to help them and support them in their tough time. That's how you will be able to come out this whole concept of suffering and convert them into a real strength for humans, right? Now, this is the major area where I have seen a lot of people always come in and around and they say, why I got love failure. And I always found almost 80-90% people ask this question, that why we always fail in love. Why it give us so much of hurt, emotional hurt? Why it is happening to me? As I mentioned before the start of my this session, that when we talk about suffering, we as humans have a choice. If you are giving to someone something, don't expect the same thing come back to you, because that's not the human nature. Problem happens to us when you love somebody, you love with conditions. You love, hey, I have given you so much of gifts, so in return I also need, then only I feel you love me. If you don't give me a gift, I mean you don't love me at all. Now this is something called so silly definition of being into love with someone. When you make your love very conditional, when you make create boundaries for your love in a way that if I do so, I also expect you should return me, always understand that kind of conditional love is going to give you only failures, failures and failures, because you're not allowing the human emotions to come into that whole relationship, and you are bounding that whole feeling, and you are just creating toxicity around that whole feeling. Love does not demand that you have to take somebody for a very expensive holidays, or you have to tell 20, 30 times in a day somebody, hey, I love you so much, I love you so much. All that is crap. The real form of love is when you can understand somebody emotionally, you can connect somebody when they are into pain, and you can really take them out of that pain into towards the right growth and positive mindset. That's called real, true caring nature towards someone. And most importantly, I always feel that a pure form of love is, first you should know how to respect a love, kind of relationship you both are sharing. Love has never been about being a boy and a girl. Love can be between your parents, how you respect them, how you take care of them in their old age, how you should actually take care of their small things, what they need in life. Because when you were a child, I'm sure all of our parents have took that extreme care towards us. That was unconditional, right? So if you really want to understand love, go unconditional. Don't bound your love. Don't have that kind of conditional boundaries. Oh, I will do only this. Then it is not going to give you any fruitful results, because love require commitment, love require respect, and over and above it requires that good, powerful feeling of each other's emotion, rather than having a physical touch or intimation, or kind of all this kind of modern traditional dynamics which you call a love is all about. It's not. That's just an external interaction. You get attracted towards each other for certain reasons. But the pure form, if you really want to get out of this pain, start turning out. And the most important thing, I have seen a lot of people, once they go through this love failure, they just went out this pain by going and abusing that person, either on social media, here and there, talking about that person over and over again. Please understand, when you talk about the same person whom you have left because of uncertain, unavoidable circumstances, what you are doing, you are actually wanting that person back in your life, and somewhere that person was best for you. That's the reason still your mind and your heart is connected to that person. But the biggest suffering what you are doing is you are abusing that person. If you have really really loved that person, I would suggest leave them on a good note. If some unavoidable situation is there where you cannot be together, it's fine. Leave them with respect, and don't go and over venting out here and there, talking about 100 people nonsense way of talking about what she was bad, he was bad. It is not going to yield you anything. It will only create blockages in your love life. And you know what will be the major damage you will be doing in terms of suffering? Anybody who enter next in your life, you will try to compare that person also with your previous one, and you will also make the second person also suffer along with you, and then ultimately you will be alone in life. And every time when people talk about you love, you say, no, I know it's always a failure, I know people are not honest. It's not about people are not honest. It's always about how you have perceived that whole term is very important. Have you given that second person space in your life? Have you treated the person in a right way? You were just keep dictating, oh, my ex was like this, my that person was like this, that person did something wrong to me. If all these kind of thing only you are talking and cribbing about, you will never get a right form of love in your life. Over and above, I just want to tell you, if you really want to experience true form, first be respectful to you. Second, be respectful to the second person whom you are allowing to enter into your life, so that both of you can experience the right amount of unconditional emotional equation. Where there is a relationship, first has to be respected. Then you can call it anything. Yeah, I do this for you. You do all this because you're in love with somebody. So don't try, you need not to dictate this thing to every time. I have done this, I have done this. You have done this because you felt like doing that for that person. So please respect it, right? In this way, you will be able to get out of that whole concept of guilt, suffering. Oh, my relationships are not working. Why it is so painful? Because you have restricted and your expectations are not getting met now. That's why you are in the pain, right? So this is very important to understand that suffering is a choice. How we want to learn, how we want to take that suffering either for our growth or for our, we want to just keep going with that suffering and the pain, that is again a choice to us. What are the 9 signs of healthy relationship? Give independence to your, let's say you are into a married relationship, give independence or space to your spouse. Don't be clingy 24 bar 7. Oh, I have to know everything. Please respect, everybody's human. They also need their own space. Give them that space. Set boundaries. When I talk about boundaries, I'm not talking about that you start torturing your counterparts. Boundaries, when I say, let's say somebody is into pain, somebody is into a bad mood, do not go and provoke that person. Restrict yourself that going over and over asking about that same problem at that point of time. Support them when they are into pain. Let's say your spouse is going through a low energy, your spouse is feeling something bad, spouse is going through a kind of, low phase in life. Don't leave them at that point of time. The worst thing can happen when you leave your spouse in their most weak time where they need you the most, and you just go and get out of the relationship telling that, oh, I think we are not compatible. You are, as a human, you have lost all the sense of being into moral ethics. So be supportive to them. Take their consent whenever you are doing collectively any work. Have this whole respect towards the concept of equality. Communicate. Fights will be there because when you love somebody unconditionally, there are times where there is a misunderstanding. There can be things, certain things can go really, really wrong because we all have our own emotions, and sometimes our emotions get highly triggered. So don't worry about all this. Just go and talk. That's the baseline here to create a very strong relationship. Create safety, create trust, and most important, over and above, I would say, is respect. First, respect your relationship. Don't simply allow Tom, Dick, and Harry to come into your relationship just because you are alone, you are craving for a relationship, and you are allowing everybody will not solve the problem. That is again a wrong way. I always tell people it is more advisable to be alone rather than be with the wrong person who is there just misusing your emotion, misusing your respect, and misusing you and treating you like a slave. Correct? So give respect to people, whosoever, and always think twice before getting into a relationship, because that's a kind of respect, that's a kind of, I would say, a commitment you are giving to both the parties. When I say both the parties, let's say you're married couple, so obviously towards husband and wife, right? So this is all about that, how you can just go and rate your healthy relationship. And let's say if some of you feel, no, 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 my relationship is not healthy, don't worry, my dear friends. There are certain things which you can rework and make your relationship more healthy towards your achievement, because overall we all are humans. We need that emotional connect. We want somebody next to us when there are times you are feeling very low. So don't feel shy in crying. Crying is the biggest strength, I always tell people. But somehow, to male counterparts, it's always been upbringing right from childhood. Hey, you are a male, you should not cry, right? As a human, we all have a rights to cry, right? So don't hold yourself. When you feel like crying, just go and cry and feel yourself light. So that's all from my end. I think this is what I wanted to share with all of you. So thank you so much for listening so patiently. And I'm sure this is going to at least add some value addition in your life, where you all can go and implement something powerful and something meaningful to make your relationship and sufferings more stronger and healthy. Thank you, IGP, once again for inviting me on your platform and sharing my views. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a rich content presentation which can impact our knowledge seeker surely. After your presentation, I hope our knowledge seeker can learn something new, which was our only intention. Learn together IGP knowledge seeker. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your presentation. Now
Thank
it's
you.
time for our question answer session, which is the one more valuable part of our regular web. Honorable ma'am, please stay with us. After a short video, we will back in our session part 2, which is the question answer part. Welcome back, ma'am. Welcome back to our participant. Dear knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification.
Do we have any question? I think we don't have any question. Thank you so much, everyone, for absorbing this particular session in such a great way. So, thank you once again, IGP, for inviting me on your platform and sharing my views. And I hope you all enjoyed this session. And I hope you all learned something valuable from this particular session. So, thank you so much. And I hope you all have a great day.
I think after a wonderful presentation, our participant can answer the topic very clearly. That's why no questions from our participants. So once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your time
Thank
in
you so
IGP. We have
much.
learned a lot from you with your topic. It will add some value to our day-to-day activity along with our academic and professional growth. Honorable
Sure.
ma'am, hope to see you again with a new topic and new day. Thank you, ma'am. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
At the end of our session, we can say properly feed your skill. Never stop learning because life never stop teaching us. Be happy to say. Say again and again. We want your participation in every program. If you want to live a happy life, try to go on to people of things Albert Einstein. Before I say hit the unlike button, I again wants to thank all our teachers for your active participation as always. See you again in the next session. Thank you.